Wow. I just want to move to Virginia and sit on her front porch and let her tell me stories.
Oh
That's
my
just
goodness.
how endearing I am to Miss Shirley T. Burke. Shirley, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that is so precious. I love that. I love it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah. I
here.
mean, I can just see having some smoked Virginia ham. And then for those who don't eat pork, they can have
Yes.
some smoked turkey.
You know what? Chilies if you got to.
There you go. There you go. There you go. But just sitting and just hearing your stories that you have captured so creatively in your new book, Shirley T. Burke's Keeping It Real. Have you forgotten you matter? This
Yes,
is
yes,
such
yes.
a wonderful read. And I couldn't put it down. At one point, I said, now I have to get myself together because I've got other things to do. But just reading this was just exceptional. I want to first ask you the Shirley T, why do you emphasize the T in your
Because
name?
that's my maiden name, Timberlake. And also going back further, there are a couple of people, like even in my first husband's family, their name was Shirley Farrow. That was my first husband, was Farrow, Shirley.
Yes.
So I started using that middle initial to differentiate that,
Uh-huh.
so people would know it was me instead of another person.
Uh-huh. Got it. Got
But
it.
I take the T as part of Shirley.
It is. I tell you,
I
that's
don't
your
even put a period.
brand.
I don't even put a period. I just
That is your brand. That is
yes,
what
yes.
what is it like? I mean, you are a Virginian through and through. And as I read through, I want to talk about some of the stories that are here.
So
What is it like to be a proud Virginian woman?
I'm going to tell you, I love Virginia. I love Virginia, and you hear about things all over the world. Our history, like from the '60s and '70s and what have you. I still felt like I was a human being.
Mm,
I wasn't taught that I was different.
mhm, mhm.
I was not taught that. I found out after I got grown and got in society, I got out in the world. Some things I remember the colored bathrooms and stuff like that, but we weren't taught that we were different, and that I think that's what made me feel the way I feel and know
Mm.
that I was born to let people know they matter.
Yeah,
And
you
that's what I felt.
in your book, you referenced 1954, and when I
Oh
read
yes,
it, and you talked about the experience of going to visit your aunt, I believe, and
yes,
you're going
yes.
on the public bus, and your
James
sister
River.
comes, and you jump on, and then my head clicks. I said, "Oh, wait a minute! Whoa, 1954! I know where we're going
Yes,
here, public bus." But it
yes.
didn't turn out like. Tell us what happened with that
Oh my
story in the
goodness.
book.
Being country, you don't go anywhere. You stay at home. You go to school, come back, and my mama had a store, so we didn't go to store. She couldn't
And
find
you grew up in what town? Tell our audience.
Goochland County, Goochland, Virginia.
Richland.
We're about 30 miles west of Richmond, the bedroom community. And James River bus line came down Patterson Avenue. For us, it was Route 6 in the country. And this, we have somebody working on the house. So I really keep it real out here today.
That's right.
But what happened is, I got out there. I was so excited. I was going to visit my aunt Lily Pleasance, and I was out there early. The bus coming a little late. I was out way early. So the bus finally got
Because you
there.
were excited.
Yes,
Yeah.
going on see my aunt gonna ride this bus. And because my sister and I were used to riding it. So I stood there waiting for the bus. Then my sister got on first because she had to pay.
Hmm.
She got on and she went on to the back.
And you were about 10 years old, right?
About 10 years old.
Yeah.
I got on the bus and sat down. On the first seat I saw, and that was on the front seat. No one nobody on that front seat.
Mm.
And there's that great big windshield. I could see out and then see out the sides. That's where I sat down. Nobody said a word.
Mm. Mm.
Nobody said a word. The bus was full.
Mm.
I'm surprised my sister didn't come and get me or something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Nobody said a word.
And for those who are listening who are wondering why this is so important, you have to remember this was on the eve of the Montgomery bus boycott in
Yes.
Alabama. Now we're talking
Yes.
Virginia here.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
still talking the South. And in
Yes.
the South, there was a typical assumption or a private invisible policy where blacks went to the back of the
On the
bus. And
bus.
here you
Yes.
have a 10-year-old black girl who jumps on, she's excited, and she sits in the front of the bus and is
Yes.
not challenged.
Not
Wow.
challenged at all. And I'm getting teared up right now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I felt. I understand.
Yes, I so appreciate everybody that was on that bus.
Yes.
I even wrote, when I write the story, I wrote to the company. I wrote to the company and told them the story and all. And they were very appreciative. And the man, he's trying to run it just like his daddy did.
Yeah.
They even posted it on their website.
Wow.
So that's how much they appreciated it. But I just don't know who I would be. You know, because I will some of our life experiences. And I probably would basically be the same, but it would be some other things there that's not pretty, maybe.
Yeah.
In terms of how people treat you, or somebody tell you, you know, look, get up here, you can't sit here, go back there. That is something that you don't forget.
No. And it would have changed your thinking of the society around you and the world around you.
I believe that so strongly. That's reason I tear up, because they helped mold me that day too.
True.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but writing that story, you know, so I pray for them. Most of them probably dead, but their children, their grandchildren, and their grandchildren to come. I'm
going to make sure that my granddaughters read this. My 10-year-old, almost 10-year-old granddaughter reads voraciously. So I'm going to make sure that I get another copy of this to give to them, a clean copy, so that they'll have
awesome.
This is the kind of book that we want our children to read, so that they will see the complexity, the joys, the sorrows, the pain, and what you have experienced as a Virginian woman, a Virginian woman. Yeah.
And I have to say, I've traveled with the Liuzzo sisters who...
I want you to tell us that story, too.
Oh, God.
You go in the book and you watched a documentary that just hit your soul. Tell us, and I can connect with that, but I want you to tell that story.
Oh, boy. This is at Home Alone, and I'm going to try to make it fast here, but I was in charge of the remote control, which means I could turn the interstate.
You were home alone. Hubby's not there. Kid's gone.
Control. So I was just going through the channels, and I always wound up on the crime TV channel, and they're still looking at ID and stuff. But it was Home of the Brave was the name of that documentary. That documentary was about Miss Viola Liuzzo. I never heard of this lady. This is what bothered me so much, because this woman, life had been taken. She didn't give it. She gave it to go. She went to Selma. Because she couldn't believe when she saw all this TV stuff and the man hosing people in the street, and mostly black people, but there was a mixture of people.
And we're talking, for those who are wondering, this is about Viola Liuzzo in 1965. And what she did from her home in Detroit. She was a homemaker, mother of 5, I believe.
Yes, 5.
And going down to pitch in and help with the civil rights movement, even though she was white.
Yes. She couldn't believe that this was her America. And when Martin Luther King says, it's one thing to send your money and another thing to come yourself, she called home. She had that big car, and she called home and said that she was going to Selma. When she got down there, I have been with her daughters. Because I wrote a letter, and they responded.
They responded.
They called me sister. They call me sister, and I call them sister, because it's so the feeling is so deep and profound. I cannot explain it. And I saw so much when I went there, and I saw you go where she was buried, where she was killed. I was on the bus and all this stuff. Who did the inaugural prayer? The black preacher that did the inaugural prayer first for President Obama. Him and his wife are the ones that had to get on the bus trip down there.
I'm thinking right now, because I was at the inauguration in 2009. It escapes me, but
it's the older man. His wife is Southern Women Christian Association. Was what she was associated with. Miss Lowry. Lowry is the name.
Oh, Lowry. Joe Lowry. Reverend Joe Lowry.
His wife is the one that had this trip. And the Liuzzo sisters told me about it after giving me corresponding, and I had them on my radio show, and I cried, they cried, we talked. And to get down and put your hand on history. And I say all of this because we didn't see that much in Virginia, although the court case started here. But the drama and the trauma that was experienced here in Virginia, we didn't have that as much, because we didn't have all that on the news, like people putting somebody up, beating somebody and stuff. Right. I don't remember that. That's why I thought it was significant. But that thank you for bringing that story up, because that's another one that brings tears to my eyes, because I just was thought this terrible. We didn't know anything about that lady. And after that, I learned there's a lot of white people
who pitched in and helped.
Alone with plackets on. A young white man that was a postal worker. They killed him. But there are people, everybody, like we see now, coming to support us. So that's when I say you matter.
Right.
We matter. I'm not saying just as a black person I matter.
And the thing is that people have to understand is that Viola Liuzzo was killed. She went down there, and she was probably the only white woman killed during that era in the civil rights movement. She was from suburban Detroit. I am from Detroit. So I was an 11-year-old when she died, and her death meant an awful lot to me and everyone else in Michigan because she was from the Detroit area. Yes. So I remember that vividly.
And the girls that hopefully I had a online program the other night, and one of her daughters was on there. I'm hoping they get this, because they would be appreciative of you making how you felt when they
want them to know that I was an 11-year-old. I was too young to march. I had met Dr. King in 1963 in June when he came to Detroit. I was part of that massive rally that was down near Cobo Hall during that time. But when in August of 1965, I believe that was the year when Viola Liuzzo passed away, when she died tragically. I remember being at my dining room table and hearing that news, and I was stunned.
I didn't
really stunned. I was close to being 11 years old. Yeah, close to.
That was the same
way. That was actually, I was 65. I was 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. Yeah. Yes. I mean, we have those kind of compelling stories. I want to also. We're going to tell about 2 more stories, but again, it's all.
I appreciate those 2.
I've got my book tabbed. I definitely have my book tabbed, definitely. But you make us. I just love some of the titles that you have adopted from other people, and one of the titles you have here is "When You See Crazy Coming, Cross the Street."
Yes, when my whole thing was when you hear something, like you got to think about it. You hear people say stuff, and you got to think about it. I didn't have to think about that at all.
It's time to move. It's time to move.
Yeah, I knew exactly what you thought.
And then tell us about your title. My daddy wasn't a Rolling Stone. Where he laid his hat was our home. Tell us about Mr. T.
Mr. T was a wonderful man. He, I don't know how far, he didn't get very far in school. But he had his own business. He had 2 businesses. He cut pulpwood, and he sold wood for the lumber company. And he also on Thursdays he got seafood, and he went around to the ladies' homes and he beat that seafood. And the ladies were joking. Said, Mr. Herman, so you got a skirt in there? You know how a cow has a something. And they would laugh and stuff, but they were right there to buy his stuff. But I loved my daddy, and I don't know how men talk to their daughters now, but my daddy told me one time about he hadn't gotten but somebody pregnant, and it fell in his net, and he married the lady. And so, kind of teaching his daughter about men. And I remember him telling my first husband, you don't have to train her, you don't have to beat on her, because I raised already.
All right. And this is Mr. Herman Timberlake, your dad, who was born in 1898, too.
1898. And I figure that's why I'm a little crazy, because I've got on the purse. On the purse. And people would come to him for counsel. The judges, the sheriff, the preachers, and all the neighborhood big people. He would be under the tree. They would stop there and sit under that tree for counsel with him. I was told that if he got something at the store and wrote on a paper bag, that he could get it. This is who I have to try to live up to. A man of integrity, and that's where you get your legacy from. Your legacy is all around you with your father, your aunts, your family members, etc. Yes, because you don't want to be the one that break that mold. Yeah. We need stronger. We need to be more stronger. Integrity is stronger. And then tell us about what's in the harvest in your life. What seeds do you sow? And tell us about your son. Lindell Nelson Marin Farrer. That's the Camille flood came through here in 1969. They buried my stepsister And I took the flood came through. And the news said it's going to be once every 100 years.
Right.
So we took the children. I took a carload of kids up there to see the water.
How far was it from where you were to where the water was?
10, 11 miles west, further from like Columbia, Virginia.
Okay.
Through Banner County. And it's like we had go across railroads. You know, they got a place, a real wide place where trucks can get to take the boats to the water and stuff. And that's where we were on. Graham was right there. But he stepped to the side and disappeared in the water. And my nephew, Fernando Ellington cousin, true to form, ran as fast as he could to save him.
Because your son was 4 years old.
4 years old. My nephew was 12. And my nephew ran to save him. He drowned too. Well, more people, more children, if I hadn't held on.
And this was 1969?
69. And I don't remember crying until 1985. We go through things because I had children and stuff, and I was married to an alcoholic husband that reminded me that I was to blame, as if I didn't feel that already. But this, you know, like you go through things, and I'm one of those people that believe in what Robin Roberts' grandmother said: make your mess your message. Somebody else, wherever I've gone and have shared it, because sometimes I think I've shared that story, but I haven't. And people, every time I share it, there's somebody else in there that has had a loss.
Who needs to hear it, yes.
You need to hear it. Even in my prison project that I volunteer for,
yes,
I shared that one day. It made a difference to a couple of women when I shared it that day. I loved, he was a 4-year-old, and you know, what I think about often is he was 4 years old, and as my abusive husband would argue and stuff, he would come in between the 4-year-old. What I want to say too is the Saturday before he drowned, the Sunday before he drowned, he wanted to go to church with me. Yeah, and I did not, I was already ready and stuff like that. I didn't take him to church. But the next weekend he was in church in the coffin. So, you know, I've been through joy, pain, guilt.
Wow. Yeah. And you have you have daughters?
Yes, I got
You've remarried.
Yes.
You have a wonderful business. Tell us, again, all these life lessons. Again, that's why I want to fly down and sit at your feet on your front porch.
I love it.
Smoked Virginia ham. Tell us about where you are now in life, because for many people, they would be retired, but you are actively working with your business. Yes. You are a professional speaker, coach, and consultant as well. Tell us about Shirley T and your business and the Esteem Institute. Okay. In the Esteem Institute, I hire people in to do things, but basically I do, when I've learned, people say, well, we come to hear you. So I have tried to be the primary this time around and remember to tell people what I do. So thank you for saying what I do, because usually I forget to do that. I did a breakout session, a online session the other night called Break the Cycle. It was a free mastermind class. And what it is, dealing with the cycles. I read a poem online the other day, and it's the autobiography in 5 short chapters. And I don't know whether you want me to read this now, whether you have time. You can read it now, certainly. Okay, autobiography in 5 short chapters by Portia Nelson. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. This is the premise of my business. This is the premise of my business for breaking. Chapter 5. I walk on another street.
Oh yes. And that's where I hang around.
5 short chapters. That's a powerful poem.
Yeah,
Powerful.
autobiography by Portia Nelson. And I just think it's terrible that you're less than it's not even 200 words. And it tells a story of most people.
Yes,
Of
yes.
most people, your story is here. And this is the basis, I guess, for my whole business and letting you know you matter. And we have cycles, whether it's personal relationships, business relationships. We are in this cycle. We are in a cycle, and we keep doing the same thing over and over. That's sort of, I work with professional women who hung around shame, guilt, and pain too much. And then they're living with regret. So this is what I work with. I work with those individuals. I used to be the executive director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, Office of the President of the United States. I was in charge of 6-county agency. 6-county agency, I was executive director. And I had a lot of practice. My eyes and ears were open. And I've worked with so many people.
So you have your life experience and who you've touched, who you have helped, who you are transforming. You have a storytelling gift that is all in this book, and certainly all in all the things that you do as a speaker and a consultant with your Esteem Institute. Tell people where they can get this wonderful book. How can they get a copy of Keeping It Real?
Oh, they can get a copy on ShirleyT.com. That's my website, www.shirleyt.com, or on Amazon. And we're working on getting, I think our ebook out there is already out there, as well as on Barnes & Noble.
That's wonderful.
All the sites. But this is so important to me that you appreciate the book.
Absolutely.
So
I tell you, I could not put it down. And we're actually recording this right before Mother's Day. You can go and order the book and get it. It'll be a wonderful Mother's Day gift for friends, for families, for mothers. And again, you can just visualize yourself sitting on Shirley T's front porch, drinking a nice glass of either iced tea or sweet tea, and hearing her stories. Shirley T. Burke, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. Take care. All the best to you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care now. Thank you very much.